Welcome everyone, today we'll have a new build guide for Diablo 4. As you guys can see behind me, this is going to be a very exciting Barbarian Rend build, but this build have a very big twist behind it. Let me put the volume down a little bit, and what you're going to see with this build is, this is going to be a permanent stun build that is going to be almost unkillable. So we have a lot of Fury gain, we have a lot of sustain, lots of fortify, and also a lot of more defensive and also offensive mechanics. So what I want to do on the teaser to show you guys is, this build works wonderfully farming the tier 3 dungeons with the nightmare dungeons. And I'm basically going through the dungeons without even worrying about my HP, and we do really good single target damage. Now the only downside about this build is, sometimes the monsters will follow behind you and the loot will drop behind you, and that's the annoying part, right? Because we're bleeding them, which is the common part for the bleeding build. So here you can see me having no troubles against the elites, which are 4 levels higher than me, and this will always be the case if you build correctly. Now because this dungeon was actually packed of elites and it doesn't actually have a boss, so what I do is, I'll briefly show you guys us fighting a lot of elites and also monsters, which again, notice that I'm not really taking any damage. We have so much fortify, we have so much durability, and yeah, our damage is also great. So here you can see that I was able to clear the nightmare dungeons of the first difficulty, which is 4 level higher than my character, without any difficulty. And I want to share this build with you guys because this build is great for multiple reasons. So here comes the second highlight. This build is actually great at killing goblins and also farming bosses. So I'll be making a guide about this as well. Notice that we're trying to kill a goblin run. Usually they run away a lot. Notice that we kill the goblin within 2 hits. And because they are bleeding as they run away from you, they will be bleeding to death. And here what I want to show you guys is, we can also find one of the mini boss, not the wild boss, one of the mini boss in the PvP zone. And here you got to see that we'll be able to fight this boss with almost I would be standing in his damage, and I'm not taking much damage. And I'm also permanently stunning him a lot. So here notice I can stun him for over 5 seconds, and this allows me to do a lot of damage, and also basically standing still and dealing lots of damage. So to summarize, this build is great for farming after level 50 with Sword tier 3, and also this build is also great for killing goblins, killing bosses, killing elites, and this build you won't be dying a lot. So this is a really good build I want to be sharing with you guys. Now, similar to all of our build videos, I'll be working with Mobalytics and also provide you guys with a cheat sheet of the summary of the spells and also the abilities and also the choice of legendaries. So make sure you guys check the links below, and we'll be updating this build for you guys very soon. Now because this will be a level 50 build, I'm expecting you guys to have some of the skill points from the renows. So you can see that I currently is missing 2 reno points from 2 of the regions, and I have cleared most of the other regions for the 2 skill points. Now what we'll do is, let's come over to the skills and I'll show you guys the combination of the build, because you actually have a lot of chance of stunning and you also chase a lot against the goblins. So starting off with our basic spells, we'll be going with Launch Strike, and also Launch Strike will provide us with Berserk. Now this of course is because I have some critical chances. If you do not have that much critical chance, I recommend going with Launch Strike, providing us with additional bleeding damage. What we want to do with Launch Strike is the ability to use a blunt weapon. And having the blunt, I can't actually say this word, so how do we say this? This is bludgeon, right? So having a bludgeon or blunt weapon allows us to be stunning enemies a lot because for our build, and our build will be based on this with a certain unique legendary aspects. Now one of the reasons I'm going with Launch Strike over Flay is because of the mobility and also the chase potential. Yes, I'll be losing out 10% of bleeding damage, but I'm not really losing out on damage. I'm losing out a bit of mobility if I go for Flay, and I don't really need the vulnerability because we have more points into pressure point for the vulnerability. So coming over to the second tree, you can see 3 points into pressure point and also 3 points into endless fury, which allows us to use 2-hand weapon to get lots of fury and also get a lot of vulnerability with Rend over here. And my Rend, I'll be going with additional fury gain as we hit more enemies. Now as we come over to the next section, oh I actually forgot to unpack this one. So yes, I was testing out this build with Ground Stomp. You'll see very soon, it's because I want to see how strong the build is with a permanent stunning combination, but it turns out this is just not worth the skill point. So what I'm having is, I'm having 3 triple shots, and we'll be going with Rally Cry, Challenging Cry, and also War Cry, which allows us to have a really good rotation of Fury gain, Sustain, and also Mobility. Now I do know that you guys have been sending me messages about the nerf after the launch to the Barbarians with the skills of the effects that doesn't roll into cooldown reduction for the shots anymore. So we'll talk about this very soon as we go select our legendaries and also our affixes for the build. So for now, I'll be going with at least 2 points into Rally Cry. I did invest into other points as well, so only 2 points over here. And we'll be going with Rally Cry, provide us with additional Fury and also grants more Fury. For the Challenging Shout, we'll be going with Challenging Shout, providing us with more Fury. And finally, for the War Cry, we'll be going with additional Fortify when we cast War Cry. Now over here, I am really durable, and this is why I'm not perking into additional damage reduction. Previously I had this one, but I realized I was just not taking any damage, so I took this away. So we'll be going with 3 points for the extended shout duration, and also 3 points into healing, which allows us to be very healthy and also very powerful. Now as we move over to the weapon mastery section, we'll be going with 1 point that allows bleeding to be slowing enemies, and 3 points that allows us to deal more damage against vulnerable enemies. Here we'll go with 3 points into Pit Fighter and also 3 points into No Mercy, which is going to be essential for the critical strike chance against slowed and also stunned enemies. Now what you guys are going to see in the replay is I have a lot of Fortify. I always kept on Fortify, and this is because having so much Fortify, I can deal more damage as well. So here we'll be going with Counter Offense, having additional 12% damage when we have Fortify over 50%, which is very likely. Now finally, for our ultimate, we'll be going with Berserk and also its upgrades. And over here, this is the unique variation of the build. I have been testing this one. It seems to be working at the moment. I'll be adjusting this build after level 70 of course, but for now this build works wonderfully by going into the blunt weapons that stuns enemies for 3.25 seconds. So 30% lucky chance to stun, and this actually happens quite a bit. Now for my future points, I'll be going with two-handed weapon, providing me with more critical damage. And this allows us to do more damage with like two-handed weapons, like the sword and also the polearms. Now what you're going to see here is, we'll be going with a Bleeding Keystone, which allows Bleeding to pretty much critical strike, increase bleeding damage, and also having Overpower to do AoE damage. Now that we had to look at the skill choices, let's come over to the choice of gears. As you guys can see, I have upgraded my gears just for the Nightmare Dungeons. It did cost me about, I think, 200,000 to upgrade everything, but I upgraded most of them to level 3, and yes, I will be replacing them, but I just like to have, a proper build after level 50, so this is a personal preference. I did spend about 700,000 gold in crafting this build, so keep in mind guys, it is very expensive. And I only farmed for about 2 million gold with our previous method. So if you haven't seen the previous method, we do have a video guide to talk about that one, to be farming over 1 million or 2 million gold every hour. Now because this particular build will require 2 legendary aspects that is not available from the codexes. So what you can see is, you can see the availability of the codex I have for my class, and I'll highlight a few of the good codex that you should be using for the build. The first one is that the shout will provide you with more fury, so 2 fury per shout. And over here you can see, this is actually crafted on the secret ring. After that, I do have the next one, which is quite a bit over here. After that, one of the defensive codex I really recommend is to provide yourself with more armor when you deal damage. And this one is crafted, where did I craft it to? And this one is actually crafted on my helmet, so you can see the codex that was crafted. And this allows you guys to see the codex that you could be making. And finally, because we want to go with a permanent stun build, I also crafted this particular codex, which allows me to stun bleeding enemies a lot. So this one is actually crafted on my gloves over here. Now coming over to 2 of the legendary aspects that you have to find for this build. And if you do not have this one, you can still make the build work, but I'll give you guys a variation of adjustment using the codex over here. So the first one you want to be finding is going to be this one. Stunning a bleeding enemy allows you to do the total bleeding damage to them as physical damage, which really works well with this permanent stun build. Now if you guys happen to not able to find this one, what I recommend is come over to use this codex, which allows you to deal more damage to stun enemies. And this codex can be crafted on the two-handed weapon. Now there is one codex that is going to be essential for the triple shot build, and I was really lucky to be able to find this in the gambling shop. So for this one, it is hard to find a replacement. If you're going for the build and if you don't have this one, what I recommend is you can go with a Rend that provides you with more fury after dealing bleeding damage. And this one can be crafted. So the golden trinity of the shot build is going to be with this ring, and this one provides us with pretty much 12-second cooldown reduction for all of my shots. And this half the duration of the shots, and even after the nerf of the shots, this is still very strong, as you guys can see in the replays. Now the other way of countering the reduction or the nerf to the shots is that finding more cooldown reduction. So you can see that with my helmet I have 7.7% cooldown reduction, and also with my amulet we have another 6.7% cooldown reduction. Having those really helps as well to lower the shot cooldowns to have more rotations. And of course in the future I'll be going with my paragons to get myself more cooldown reduction for my shots. Now for my choice of my amulet, I happened to find this amulet just naturally. So not really crafted, but this one's not bad because this provides me with more fury, and each point of fury that is over the maximum fury, which actually happens a lot, provides us with fortified. And this allows me to have so much fortified because we have so much fury gain with the shouts, and also with my two-handed weapon, and also with the passive over here, which provides us with a lot of fury. So one of the reasons we get a lot of fury is that basic skills actually gains 27% attack speed, which means we will be attacking a lot faster, getting more fury, and also getting more fortified because of my legendaries. Now I know I'm a little all over the place. I should start with the two-handed weapon, right? So the second two-handed weapon of focus is going to be over here. And for this two-handed weapon, we'll be getting more critical strike chance and also additional, crowd control duration, which is going to be essential for the permanent stun build. And this one is going to be really good for most of the build for critical chance. Now finally, for the chest and also for the rest of the pieces, I have the chest for the basic spells that grant us a damage reduction. And this one can also be crafted from the shops over here. So let me try to show you guys over here. Yes, you can also be crafting this one. I do believe you can craft this one, but I think I happen to find this one myself, naturally. So you can be crafting this one from one of the Codex from the dungeons. I don't think I unlocked that one. And here for the pins, I happen to have found that when we fortify and deals damage, we also have, when we in berserk and deals damage, we also have more fortify. And finally for the boots, this provides me with more crowd control duration and also dealing more damage to unstoppable enemies. Because our focus is on stunning, if enemies are unstoppable, you'll still do more damage. Now coming over to replay, I'll go through the skill rotation with you guys, and this one's pretty straightforward. Because you have so much defensive capacities and also so much mobility with your shots, what you can do is you can start a fight with berserk to deal a lot of damage, and you move quite fast with unstoppable. Now if you wanted, you can start with your shot. Notice that the enemy is actually getting stunned a lot, because I'm actually using a blunt weapon. So what I want to show you guys is over here. Notice the weapon choice over here. If you open the skill tree, and if you press the middle mouse button, so you scroll down, you can pick which of the weapons you can be choosing. And for me, I'll be choosing a blunt weapon for my basic spells. So the increased attack speed of my blunt weapon over here, which is going to be essential because here, my blunt weapon will have a really high chance of stunning enemies. So the basic attack gives me a lot more fury and also lots more chance to stun over 5 seconds with the increased crowd control duration. So coming back to the replay, you can be using my challenging cry and also war cry as offensive abilities to gain tons of fury and also damage. You can also be using a defensive shout with the taunting shout, which allows us to be very durable. So the combination of the shouts, you can be rotating them or you can spam them together. It is really up to you. The rotation is very simple. And all you have to do is hold down the attack button and spam your bleed and spam your wind. And this will kill most of the enemies within a few seconds. So this build is going to be really good against single target, and this build is really good at chasing. Now over here, you can see that after finding a goblin, I'll be chasing the goblins very fast, simply because we have launch strike. And this is actually really good. And within 2 hits of my bleeding, the goblin's gone. And quickly I'll show you guys against the boss. Against the boss, it is quite straightforward. Whenever you need to be tanky, just casting your taunting shot. And other than that, you can just stand still and deal lots of damage to the boss. So what I do now is, I have a replay to show you guys all the gears I have picked and also all the choices. Now what I can adjust for is, I can adjust for one of the legendaries that provides me with 30% more damage when I stand still. Because, I'll be standing still a lot, right? So this is also really good. And you can craft this on one of the one-hand weapons or maybe on the gloves. So here you get to see my replays of my items and also a bit of my playthrough with the Nightmare Dungeons and also against bosses and also goblins.
ready yet. Not ready yet. I must wait. Not ready yet. Not ready yet. I must wait. I must wait. I must wait. I need more fury. I must wait. I don't have enough fury. I can't lift more. Out of fury. I'm not ready yet. I need more fury. I don't have enough fury, but ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I must wait.
If you guys haven't subscribed, it is a really good time to do so, because I'll be covering tons of Diablo 4 related topics and also videos and also guides. We'll be looking to the top meta builds, non-meta builds, leveling up, and also Paragon tricks. We're also looking to the latest events and also official updates and also changes to different characters and also different builds in the game. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and also turn the notification on, because a lot of you who are watching the videos have not subscribed. You can see 80% of the viewers who are watching our videos have not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for the latest update for Diablo 4.